This morning, Israeli and US forces launched a series of airstrikes targeting Iran's senior officials who were gathered in Koma, Iran. These officials were meeting to elect a new supreme leader to succeed Khamenei. Reports suggest that most of the 90 senior officials present are now believed to be deceased, and as a result, the election has been postponed indefinitely. Alongside these targeted strikes, massive air attacks have ravaged Tehran, with nearly every district of the city being hit. Disturbing footage from the capital shows apocalyptic scenes of destruction, while citizens are seen fleeing the area amid the chaos. Meanwhile, on the diplomatic front, Russia has stated that Iran might be compelled to develop nuclear weapons, a concern underscored by Iran's foreign ministry, which ominously vowed to set the entire world ablaze very soon. In another significant development, Poland is now reportedly taking active steps toward acquiring nuclear weapons, signaling a potential escalation in global tensions. The situation worldwide is deteriorating rapidly, with particularly dramatic developments unfolding in the Middle East. As the conflict intensifies today, let's delve into the most critical update of the moment. Our primary story, sourced from Fituk News, breaks the shocking news that Israel launched an airstrike against 88 council members of Iran's Assembly of Experts during their vote to choose the next supreme leader. These clerics had gathered in the city of Koma, meeting inside a single building specifically to conduct this election. Midway through their deliberations, a powerful airstrike struck the venue, causing catastrophic damage. The blast has reportedly resulted in a significant number of these senior clerics losing their lives, marking this as one of the most dramatic and deadly attacks we've seen, especially after the initial killing of Khamenei during the war's early moments. Let's examine the visuals to understand the extent of the destruction. The Assembly of Experts building in Koma is shown almost entirely destroyed. The structure has been reduced close to rubble, indicating that the weapon used was incredibly potent. The building has essentially collapsed onto itself, leaving devastation in its wake. Nearby, people on motorcycles, which may include government personnel, are seen amid the wreckage, but notably, emergency responders are absent from the scene, raising further questions about the aftermath. Given the scale of the strike and the building's collapse, survival chances for those inside were minimal. With about 90 senior clerics reportedly present, this attack represents a significant blow to Iran's leadership. At this moment, all eyes are on incoming casualty reports to gauge the full impact of this deadly strike. Let's turn to another crucial development coming from Insider Paper, which has just released some striking footage from Tehran. The city looks like a ghost town, eerily deserted and bearing the scars of devastation. It feels like a scene straight out of an apocalyptic movie. The United States has seemingly escalated its airstrikes on the Iranian capital. The impact is so extensive that portions of the city have become almost unrecognizable due to the widespread damage. Take a moment to watch this video. What you're seeing is staggering. Iranian flags fluttering in the distance, and billowing smoke engulfing the city center. The streets are almost deserted except for a few scattered vehicles. Notice the blinking traffic light, casting flickering shadows amidst the chaos. The glaring sunlight piercing through the haze is actually a roaring fire burning far in the background. This is a dire and grim situation. These airstrikes have happened overnight and into the morning, marking significant military activity in response to a previous attack on the U.S. Embassy in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. The U.S. president had promised to intensify the offensive, and it appears that promise is now materializing on the ground. The scale and intensity of this retaliation are clear in the empty streets and persistent smoke hovering over Tehran. Switching to World Source News, they offer another vantage point on the U.S.-Israeli airstrikes, not only targeting Tehran but also other cities like Tabriz and Ahvaz. Here's a brief clip capturing some of the ongoing bombings over Tehran skyline. While the footage is short, it's impactful. Multiple explosions erupting successively across the cityscape, lighting up the night. Watching these explosions unfold back-to-back brings to mind the introductory moments of the shock and awe campaign the U.S. launched in the early 2000s across the Middle East. The sheer number and frequency of blasts demonstrate an aggressive, continuous strike effort. From this vantage point, it's hard to specify which aircraft carried out the attacks, but their magnitude is undeniable. They are visible for miles from this rooftop perspective. This stark portrayal of Tehran, marked by relentless explosions and empty streets, underscores the escalating tensions and the devastating consequences of this conflict. The impact on the city's infrastructure and residents is profound, and the ongoing violence paints a somber picture of this moment in history. Let's take a moment to acknowledge the severe devastation unfolding in Tehran. It's truly heartbreaking. Now, moving on to our next update. This one comes from MediHH. We've just received additional footage captured directly from the ground in Tehran, showing a massive heavy strike that reportedly involved at least 10 projectiles. These were no ordinary bombs. They were very heavy and destructive. The target appears to have been an area associated with a telecom system, but current reports suggest the strike might actually have been aimed at an underground bunker complex. While this remains an assumption for now, it gives us some insight into the scale of these explosions. To give you a clearer perspective, let's compare the earlier skyline footage with this new video filmed from the ground. Right there, you can witness the aftermath, a wide expanse of destruction caused by those 10 missiles or projectiles converging on a single site. Again, while the exact nature of the target is uncertain, this visual makes it clear that these airstrikes are colossal in scale. They are far from small skirmishes. These are massive operations, as this clip vividly demonstrates. Watching this from an on-the-ground vantage point, you can truly grasp how these strikes engulf an entire section of the city. It's an overwhelming sight to behold. Progressing from this, our next story comes from Disclosed TV, and it's quite significant. Newly released satellite images reveal damage and smoke billowing from one of the world's largest oil refining and export facilities, the Ras Tanura oil refinery in Saudi Arabia, which was hit during yesterday's Iranian drone attack. The images are stark. On the right side of the footage, the refinery looks mostly intact. But on the left, the damage is clear and severe. This assault marks a dramatic escalation, as Iran has officially targeted major infrastructure within Saudi Arabia, a key regional player in the oil industry. While Saudi Arabia may not be a close ally of Iran, attacking their infrastructure is a serious move with broad implications. The damage to the refinery is significant, and though the exact timeline for repairs isn't known, it's evident from the images that restoring the facility will take considerable time and effort. Iran's actions are effectively striking at their regional rivals and impacting Saudi Arabia's oil industry, an industry critical not just to the Middle East, but to the entire global energy market. Moving on, the tension escalates further. We have reports of attacks on oil fields in Iraq as well. The largest oil field in Iraq has suspended production following major assaults earlier this morning. This disruption is likely to reverberate globally, especially impacting oil prices. Consumers in the United States, among others, can expect prices at the pump to rise as soon as these attacks affect oil supply chains worldwide. The unfolding events underscore the volatility in the region and the profound consequences for the global energy markets. Now turning to our next report from Fukux News, we encounter a truly alarming statement. Despite suffering intense bombardment, the Iranian Foreign Ministry remains defiant. The Foreign Ministry spokesman declared boldly that the war underway will soon engulf Europe, and the fire ignited by the United States and its allies will spread to envelop the entire world. This isn't the first time Iran has issued such incendiary rhetoric. They have a notorious reputation for grandiose threats both before and during the conflict. Whether this is mere propaganda, a veiled indication of nuclear ambitions, or something else entirely remains unclear. Nonetheless, the grim message highlights the extreme mindset prevailing within this regime. They openly speak of setting the whole world ablaze. It's truly a chilling prospect, and only time will reveal whether these threats translate into action. Shifting to another update from Fuckducks News, we have a striking post reportedly from the President of the United States on Truth Social. He claimed that Iran's air defense, Air Force, Navy, and leadership have been decimated, and that now Iran wants to negotiate. But according to him, it's too late. While it's evident the Iranian forces are suffering heavy losses, recent footage supports this. It's uncertain if the degradation is as complete as the president suggests. Iran continues to launch missile strikes across the Middle East, as seen in attacked oil refinery clips, which indicate some operational capability remains. Still, numerous videos show Iran's TEL missile launchers being destroyed, suggesting the pressure is mounting steadily. Although the full picture of Iranian military capacity isn't crystal clear, the U.S. claims point to a substantial weakening of Iran's air defense systems. Finally, an important development from P.H. Gray. Besides the ongoing strikes on Iranian territory, the Bushehr airport, a site associated with Iran's nuclear program, has been heavily bombarded. We're receiving dramatic footage showing extensive damage not only to the airport itself, but also to aircraft there. The images from a distance reveal the severity of the strikes, underscoring the intensifying focus on Iran's critical infrastructure. This adds another layer of complexity to the conflict and reinforces the fact that key strategic sites are being targeted as part of the campaign. We'll be sure to keep following these updates as more details and videos come in. It looks like things aren't going well at the airport. Multiple plumes of thick smoke are rising, 2 major ones to be exact, indicating multiple hits within the airport complex. Bushehr has reportedly been struck again. We've heard about attacks on Bushehr before, but now it appears the airport itself is the direct target. Let's switch from this live feed to a photo I want to show you. This picture, taken at the airport, shows an aircraft that has clearly been hit. While there's some debate, with some claiming it's from Meherbad Airport inside of Tehran, I believe this is actually from Bushehr Airport. I'm going to proceed with that assumption. Regardless of which airport it is, it's clear the facility is taking a massive hit. The devastation is severe, with many Iranian aircraft visibly damaged on the runway. This is another significant piece of breaking news alongside widespread destruction. Moving on, let's turn to our next update that involves Ocean Technical. We've received more footage showing American airstrikes targeting Iranian ballistic missile launchers earlier today. Let's watch this video closely. Here, you can observe one of the missile launchers attempting to move. But it quickly becomes clear that movement isn't sustained. The launcher goes dark in the footage and appears destroyed. You can see the explosion, confirming it was completely taken out. There's another launcher shown moments later, getting hit, likely by a precision-guided missile, possibly a Hellfire. Debris rains down as the hit connects. Another massive strike occurs on a separate launcher shortly thereafter. It's evident the U.S. strikes are effective, successfully disabling these missile sites. I mentioned before, in response to the president's post, that while the U.S. is indeed neutralizing targets, it's still uncertain if every single launcher has been destroyed. That ambiguity remains. However, the visible evidence shows significant progress. Also, the quality of this video footage is remarkably high, which really impresses me. Next, let's take a look at a report from Fox News that has revealed a major development from the UAE. Footage has emerged showing a fire burning fiercely at the port of Fujairah in the UAE. Meanwhile, in a troubling escalation, Iran continues to target oil and gas infrastructure across the Gulf region, as I've been tracking. Just this morning, attacks have been reported not only in the UAE but also in Bahrain and Oman. What's notable is that Oman, which has been trying to mediate and offer assistance to Iran diplomatically, is among the countries being hit hard in these attacks. This indicates that it doesn't matter whether you are an ally or a friend to the Iranian regime. These assaults continue to strike relentlessly. The regional tensions are visibly intensifying, with vital infrastructure and strategic locations coming under assault from multiple directions. Let's dive into some recent intense developments. First up, we have a dramatic video capturing a massive fire at a port in the UAE. As you watch, notice the sheer scale of the depot. It holds a vast number of oil containers. It looks like one of these containers was struck directly and is now completely engulfed in flames. This attack adds the UAE to the growing list of Gulf states under assault. Fires are igniting across this location, signaling serious disruptions in a wealthy oil hub. If these attacks continue at this pace, the region's prosperity could be at risk sooner rather than later. This raises the question: will the UAE respond with force against Iran? While it's a possibility, we're not placing bets just yet. We'll have to stay tuned for what unfolds next. Switching gears, our next update comes from Flex News regarding yesterday's assault on the U.S. Embassy in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. We're learning that a drone strike caused a partial roof collapse in the embassy's main office building and filled the interior with smoke, as detailed in an internal State Department alert. Sadly, this means the embassy structure has suffered severe damage. Yet, thankfully, no one was inside during the attack, so there were 0 casualties, a small relief amidst the destruction. Although the building is heavily damaged, reconstruction should be possible once the conflict subsides. Now, turning to open source intelligence, there's a gripping clip circulating that shows a drone being downed over Isfahan, Iran, earlier today. The exact origin of the drone remains unclear. Whether it's American or Israeli hasn't been confirmed. Let's examine the footage closely. The drone is visible, blazing in flames, spiraling toward the ground. It has a notably long wingspan, consistent with drones like the Reaper. However, from the angle shown, it's tough to identify definitively if it's a Reaper or another type of Israeli drone. This uncertainty aside, the downing confirms that Iranian air defenses are still operational and capable. Notably, Reaper drones have been reported shot down in this conflict before. This visual evidence only reinforces that reality, marking another significant moment in the evolving battlefield. Alright, let's dive into this. It's a bit of a shame we don't have a definitive ID on this. But honestly, it looks like it's probably a Reaper drone. Seeing it from this angle really supports that theory. Let's speed things up a bit and watch closely. It seems like it went down right next to a town. Pretty significant detail there. So, while we can't confirm for sure yet, the evidence points strongly towards it being a Reaper. We'll have to wait for official confirmation. Now, shifting gears to another developing story. Remember how I mentioned Oman taking a hit? Well, there's actual footage of that incident. Apparently, an Iranian attack drone struck a fuel storage tank at the port of Duqm, inside Oman. This is especially intriguing given the geopolitical context. Oman has been trying to temper Iran tensions, encouraging the US to ease off Iran to some extent. And yet, it seems Oman is bearing the brunt of Iran's anger. Sounds contradictory, even insane, right? Let's watch the clip together. You can see the drone approaching the tank, and then boom. Direct hit right on the side of the fuel tank. What's interesting is what looks like a water stream spraying upward. Likely firefighters were already on the scene trying to manage the fire or prevent an explosion. It's a precise strike, no doubt about that. This attack represents a major blow for Oman. It really should push Oman to join forces with other Gulf states and take a firmer stance against Iran. But so far, they seem hesitant, almost cowardly in handling the situation. Time will tell if they choose to act. Meanwhile, Iran's behavior remains erratic and aggressive. Just yesterday, more threats came from Tehran. According to Fox Network, the Grand Ayatollah, a title that sounds rather imposing if you ask me, issued a dire declaration about the US and Israel. We've got a photo showing this handwritten note, scrawled on what looks like a hotel notepad. It warns of harm coming to people. I can't go too deep into the exact wording here for obvious reasons. But it's chilling. We had heard rumors that such an order had been given by Iranian authorities before, but this note serves as official confirmation. Iran clearly intends to cause harm. What remains uncertain is the actual scope of their capabilities to carry out these threats. We'll need to keep monitoring to understand the extent of the danger they pose. The United States and Europe are both on high alert, and it seems that from this point onward, nearly everyone will remain so. Shifting away from the immediate threats centered around Iran, there's breaking news concerning Iran's nuclear program. According to a post from Geo Insider, the Russians, who have been remarkably quiet throughout this escalating crisis, are finally beginning to comment. Reports indicate that Alexei Lyakhachev, the head of Russia's Rosatom State Nuclear Corporation, has claimed that all contact with the leadership of Iran's nuclear industry has been completely lost. This is significant because, during the earlier 12-day conflict, Israeli forces reportedly targeted and eliminated Iranian nuclear scientists. And this appears to have happened again in the current tense situation. The likely reason Russians have lost communication is that these key individuals may have been killed, and obviously one can't reach someone who is no longer alive, especially if they are underground where cell signals don't reach. While we still await official confirmation about the exact number of Iranian nuclear scientists who have died, the Russians' inability to get a response is undoubtedly a worrying sign for both Iran and Russia. It reveals not only Iran's vulnerability but also suggests that the Russians are panicking, helplessly trying to contact colleagues who are no longer there. This development adds an interesting and ominous layer to the unfolding story. Moving on to another critical update reported by Defense Index, Russia has made a striking statement. They assert that ongoing U.S. actions could actually push Iran to develop nuclear weapons. Let me quickly lay out why this matters. Right now, Iran possesses more than 800 kilograms of highly enriched uranium at about 60% purity. For uranium to be suitable for a nuclear weapon, it needs to be enriched to about 90%. Analysts estimate that refining Iran's uranium from 60% to 90% enrichment, known as breakout time, would take roughly 2 weeks, give or take. Considering we are still in the early days of this conflict, Iran could be aggressively working to accelerate uranium enrichment. Certain sites like Parchin and the notorious Pickaxe Mountain facility reportedly remain untouched by U.S. strikes so far, and a few other nuclear sites appear to be operational based on current intelligence. That means Iran still has the means to increase uranium enrichment levels, potentially preparing a weapon. It's a scenario many are dismissing, assuming Iran can't or won't develop nuclear weapons amid ongoing war. But I urge caution against making that mistake. Russia's commentary lends credibility to the possibility that Iran might indeed pursue nuclear weapon development imminently. This is not mere propaganda and deserves serious attention. To mitigate this threat, the United States might want to consider a strategic approach, which could include targeting remaining nuclear enrichment facilities like Pickaxe Mountain. Doing so could be crucial to curbing any nuclear ambitions and preventing Iran from deploying nuclear-capable materials against American forces, or even European targets. This evolving situation demands vigilance and proactive measures, as the risks involved could have profound consequences for global security. Let's talk about what's going on beneath the surface with Iran's nuclear program. Honestly, it feels incredibly precarious to me. Right now, I'm genuinely concerned about what Iran might be doing underground with that enriched uranium. It's a worrying situation, and all we can do is wait and see how it unfolds. But there's more. Toward the end of this video, we have a report that might genuinely surprise many of you. Poland has officially declared that it is pursuing its own nuclear weapons program. That's huge news. It's especially significant given Poland's proximity to Ukraine, where conflict is ongoing, and the fact that Poland has been supplying Ukraine with substantial weaponry to counter Russia. Russia certainly keeps a close eye on Poland, and now, with Poland moving to nuclear armament, it's raising the stakes considerably. To be clear, Poland's move to acquire nuclear weapons is, from a precautionary perspective, a sensible step for their national security. However, this will almost certainly provoke a reaction from Russia. Poland, as a heavily militarized member of NATO right on Ukraine's border and close to Belarus as well, represents a considerable threat in Russia's eyes. Russia's response could vary widely, from harsh diplomatic condemnations to something more severe. This development is a major shift, and will undoubtedly have significant consequences. Timing is critical here. At the same time, the Middle East is grappling with upheaval, with the Iran conflict escalating and Afghanistan experiencing attacks from Pakistan. The entire region is in turmoil. Europe, too, is entering a period of heightened tension and possible escalation. Poland's decision reflects a wise approach to defense, but it also introduces an element of unpredictability due to Russia's likely reaction. Will Russia respond aggressively or take a more restrained diplomatic path? We simply don't know yet. I'd love to hear what you think. How do you see Russia reacting to Poland's nuclear ambitions? Is Poland behaving prudently in such a volatile global climate, or could this move backfire? Share your thoughts down in the comments. And with that, we've reached the final update for today's video. We've covered a lot of ground. If you haven't already, be sure to hit that subscribe button and give the video a like if you found this information valuable and interesting.